Okay, next we have Rule of Cool, Know Your Role, written by Matthew Sieg. It is 529 pages. It is $3.99. It is available on Kindle Unlimited. And here's the author's description. Ours is not to reason why. Ours is but to scorch the sky. Raze has a problem. He's just a Gearblin. That makes him a non-participating citizen. He can't see his stats, and he can't make unopposed rolls against heroes. His life is worth less than the vendor trash he hands out chained to a desk at the worst and only arcade in town. Some say it didn't always used to be like this, but once RNGesus left the party 1,000 years ago, the questionably blessed heroes conquered everything. But Raze has a crush on Patch, and she's a dreamer. When she wakes up with the knowledge of an ancient fortress and a series of symbols in her brain, everything changes. Up, up, down, down, left, right, BA start. The Konami Code makes him a hero, which means it's time for Raze and his mismatched crew to square off against an assembly of 15,000 new heroes and epic, crunchy, badass, mechanized carnage. There we go. That's a totally accurate description of this novel. Full disclosure, I received an advance copy for review. I purchased a copy when it became available. I got it usually when I get advance copies, I'll try to get a day one review, and this one's about a week late. Sorry. This is a story set in an RPG world where the main character works in an arcade serving heroes as they turn in or take quests. The main character is a Gearblin or Gremlin Goblin hybrid, and Dreg, an actual faction in this world, and works as a non-participating citizen or an NPC, dealing with terribly rude and crude heroes. There are lots of pop culture references here. They're sort of explained away as having fallen through a rift into this world and being picked up by the locals. It's a thing that bugs me. I'll talk about that later. The references were immersion breaking for me, but they are funny. There was good dialogue, and I especially thought that the unique world building was really well done, creating a world from the perspective of an NPC with cultural histories of gaming events, essentially. The story has a well-explained RPG system and is constantly followed throughout the system, throughout the story rather. It even goes far as to show the math formulas for the many roles that occur, often with humorous flavor text. However, there are also moments where you can tell things are stretched a bit for the sake of humor and story. Now, I wanted to like this story. I really did. I like Matthew Sieg's writing. I enjoy all of his other series. One of the things I really enjoyed about his work is that it's always different. It's always unexpected and kind of quirky. And I like that about his stories. And this story is also unexpected and quirky, but it didn't click for me this time. And that kind of makes me sad because I like all the other stuff that he's ever written. And there are kind of two big reasons why this didn't click for me. One, the story meanders a lot. You don't really get to the plot until you're 30% into this novel, and the first 30% just feels kind of random. And even after that plot is established, there are goals that the main character is supposed to accomplish, or goals for the story, and the story just kind of makes some weird turns, and sometimes it goes back to that goal, and sometimes it doesn't, and sometimes some other outside force will complete that goal. And that's kind of frustrating because it's not the main character advancing the story, it's other forces. And you can see some behind the scenes where the story kind of has to go to a certain place, even though the main character is not going to do this and accomplish what needs to be done. It's done by outside forces, and that's a little frustrating for me. The other thing that is kind of made it not click for me is the main character. I just didn't connect with them. The cover art is very much fun and fanciful, and gives you a pretty good description of the character's personality traits. The main character, however, he's just kind of a jerk. He's mean to his friends. And while those aren't deal breaker characters critics for me, add to that kind of the dissonance in my brain caused by me expecting him to be an NPC or a native born, citizen of this world. And instead him acting like a player, like one of us, like someone from our world, essentially. He makes a ton of pop culture references, and even though the reason he knows those pop culture references is kind of explained and waved away, it's not really a good reason. It amounts to essentially, all these memes and television and movie references comes from a rift. And that's it. It's never explained how he's consuming them, how he's learned them, how he spent his life learning these things when it would take 30 or 40 years to get some of those references and jokes. And it just didn't feel true to me. And I get the fact that the author was going for humor here. it's just a choice that made it hard to connect to the main character, at least for me. Overall, though, those two aspects alone are kind of the reason that the story didn't land for me. I suggest that you would read a sample of the story, and if you love the humor and you actually like the main character, you're going to really enjoy the rest of the story. For me, it was just a miss this time, and that's unfortunate. For me, it gets a score of 6 out of 10. That's Rule of Cool, Know Your Role, with the score of 6 out of 10.